Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this video is obviously part 3, the final part tonight of my IM3 review. Now, warning, this video it could be long, so I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. So therefore, you may want to pause, rewind on this video a few times, because I am going to go fairly fast, because I'm covering quite a few problems. Enough talk, now let's get to action here. So, notice here, guys, I have two problems that I need to solve, okay, and they're dealing with permutations, okay. So anyways, let's get right to it here. On number 7, guys, notice we have 8 players to pick from, right? And we're choosing 2 positions. We're choosing a captain of the team and a co-captain. Now, the key thing to remember, guys, is in this case, the order matters, right? Because if I pick you for the captain and me co-captain, that's different than if I'm captain and you're co-captain, right? So when order matters, guys, you got to know it's a permutation. Now, to save a little time, I hope with your calculator you know that you can just therefore take 8. You can take 8, right? And because there's 8 people, and because it's a permutation on your calculator, you're going to do 8 permutation 2, because you're picking 2 positions out of 8, right? And long story short, that's why the answer is D. But the key thing to remember is when you know the order matters, then you have to do a permutation. Now, logically, 8's probably different, right? And notice we're picking 10 players to go to bat in the game on an 11-person team, right? Now, does the order matter here? And there's a big no on that, right? No meaning the order doesn't matter, because if I pick you to bat first or me to bat first instead, it doesn't really matter. We're still part of the 10 that gets to go bat, right? So this would be a combination. And if I took 11 people and I do a combination, picking 10 out of those 11 in my combinations, right, I will get therefore 11. So one thing I want to emphasize, guys, is make sure you can do this and this at least with your calculator. Now, it's up to your teacher whether they're going to force you to do the actual formulas for that. But anyways, let's move on because we have lots to cover. On this one, guys, look at number 5 below. What I'm basically going to do is take 3 times negative 2, which is negative 6. I'm just going to do distributive property, in other words. I'm going to take 3 times negative 3i, get negative 9i. Okay? Now notice I haven't done anything with the negative 6i, because that's what I'm going to do next. Negative 6i times negative 2 is plus 12i. And finally, negative 6 times negative 3i is plus 18i squared. Now comes the key part. Do you guys remember what that I squared really is? It's a negative 1, right? A negative 1. That means the plus 18 with a negative 1 is really a minus 18. Pause the video if you need to think about that, okay? But now that I know I squared is negative 1 and 18 becomes negative 18, I'm just going to combine like terms here. I'm going to take the negative 6 here with a negative 18. That's negative 24. I'm going to take the 12 minus the 9i and get 3i. And if we look down here, you can see the answer is A. Okay, one more time. This one actually in some ways may be a little bit easier. Now notice it looks more confusing because there's 3 terms here, right? 3 expressions. Okay? Well, let's just do 2 at a time. Couldn't I take 5i times 6i and get 30i squared? Wait a minute, isn't I squared negative 1? So 30i squared is really simply a negative 30, right? And now all I need to do is times that with my final expression, 8 plus 2i. And to save a little time, guys, I'm just going to use my answers here. Negative 30 times 8 is negative 240. Notice D is the only possibility, right? And just to verify, negative 30 times 2 is also the negative 60i. So that's why the answer is D there. Pause the video if you need to. Okay. Now what about these problems here? Well, we kind of already practiced distributive property once, right? So here we go again. What's 3 times 5x? 15x squared, right? What's 3x times 7? Well, that's a 21x. What about negative 1 times 5x? That's a negative 5x, right? And finally, negative 1 times 7 is a negative 7. Combining like terms, notice those are the only two that they have like terms with. So my final answer is 15x squared. 21 minus 15, combining those together right there, is 16x minus 7. And if we look at our answers, it looks like the answer is A again, isn't it? Sure is. Okay, one more on this page. Notice over here, I have actually 2 terms here and 3 terms here. I usually call this a 2 by 3, all right? But I'm basically going to do the same thing. So watch carefully. I'm going to take 3n times 3n squared, and that's a 9n to the third, or n cubed, right? Watch your powers now. What's 3n times 8n? See how all I'm doing is distributing the 3n again, just like I did in the other problems, right? So what's 3n times 8n? Well, 3n times 8n is simply 24n squared. And finally, 3n times 6, 18n. Okay? Now notice, guys, I still haven't touched the 2 yet. So here I go. I'm going to do 2 times 3n squared. And here's a little trick I learned a long time ago is I'm going to line up my like powers, my like terms. So 2 times 3n squared is a 6n squared. See how I have them lined up right there. Okay. And 2 times 8n is, of course, a 16n. I got my 18n, 16n lined up, don't I? And finally, 2 times 6 is a 12. So, guys, we're almost done. I have a 9n cubed, right? The 24 with the 6 makes 30n squared. The 18 and 16 make 34n. And finally, I have the 12, constant 12 at the end. And if I look at my answers, notice the only one that matches or is even close is B. So the answer is B. Pause the video again if you need to. Okay, I think I got one more set of problems here. Yes, I do. Okay, now guys, this has always been one of my frustrations as a math teacher, quite frankly. Look at number 1 and 2. Notice how there's a minus between each of these problems. Okay, guys? Powers are not going to change when you minus, just like when you add. Powers are not going to change. Powers only changes when you multiply or divide. You've got to understand that. Now, the only trick to minus is make sure you distribute the minus, okay? And what I mean by that is minus is minusing the 6v, and that's going to give me a minus 6v, correct? That minus is going to minus that 5v4 and give me a minus 5v4. And that minus is also going to minus the minus 5 and give me a plus 5. So if you don't mind, I'm going to actually scribble out the second expression there, because I have it actually up here now with the minus distributed in it. And so, guys, it's just a matter of combining like terms now. For example, 7v, let me actually use green here. 7v minus 6v is 1v, right? And let me make sure I'm not making a mistake. That is plus there, okay? And 8v cubed. Now, there is no v cubed there, so I know I have also a 8v cubed, okay? Let's see what else. I have a minus 5v4, which isn't anywhere else. So let me also jot that down. And then, of course, I have a 5 there. And notice in a 5 there, so that makes 10. Now, my answer's out of order, so let me rewrite it. I'm going to put it in order from highest power to lowest power, right? So I have a minus 4v4 there, a plus 8v cubed there, a plus v there, and finally a plus 10. And if you look carefully, guys, the only one that matches it is problem or answer A, right? Just double checking mentally. Yes, right on. A is the correct answer. Alright, one more real quick. Again, guys, I'm going to distribute this minus right here, right? Let me use red. So I'm going to get a minus v3, a minus 2v, and a minus 7v squared. And so now that that expression is distributed, right, I can now just simply combine like terms. Follow the blue. If I have 5v3 minus a v3, isn't that 4v3? Look, all the answers have 4v3 in them, don't they? If I have a minus 6v there, right here, and a minus 2v there, I'm going to have a minus 8v, right? See how they all have minus 8v's in them. What else do I have? I have a minus 3 here and no other constants, so now I know at least it can't be D. See how they had the 7 at the end? And so the only thing that's going to change is the v squared. And notice the only v squared I have is minus 7v squared, which means the answer is B. So guys, pause the video one final time. Okay guys, so I hope this helps you. Frankly, I'm tired. I need to post these videos and get some sleep tonight. So until next time, bye.